11 o'clock a.m. I've held off on doing videos on this because I didn't want to hype any fear that did not need to be warranted. However, it's now time to start putting out information on Hurricane Matthew, as it is forecast now to interact with the east coast of the United States. Now, with any hurricane, tracks can change, and they can change dramatically. We just saw that with Hermine. So I don't want to start doing a bunch of videos saying this is going to hit for sure. However, that said, this is a Category 4, a solid Category 4 hurricane. It's going to remain a Category 4 hurricane for at least the next 48 hours as it comes up through Bahamas and that area. As it approaches Florida, should remain a Category 4. May decrease to a Category 3. However, that really is irrelevant. So let's take a look at some of the information on this hurricane. The lat long for it is 18.9 north, 74.3 west. It's about 35 miles north-northeast of Haiti, Tiburon, Haiti, and about 90 miles south of the eastern tip of Cuba. Maximum sustained winds 145 miles per hour. Present movement is north at about 10 miles per hour, and central pressure of about 950 millibars. Okay, as you can see, we do have warnings up, obviously, for Haiti, eastern part of Cuba, and all of the Bahamas. It is listed as a major hurricane, which of course is winds over 110 miles per hour. It's going to be coming up north-northwest. Now, whether or not there's a high pressure right off to the east of this hurricane, whether or not this high pressure can push it in far enough is going to make all the difference as to how it interacts with Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, and as well as the East Coast. So currently, as of today, as of 11 o'clock this morning, on this track, the eye of Matthew will move over the Windward Passage in eastern Cuba today. A turn towards the north-northwest is expected by Wednesday, followed by a northwest turn Wednesday night. Matthew is expected to move near or over portions of the southeastern and central Bahamas tonight and Wednesday, and approach the northwestern Bahamas Wednesday night.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Rick Knabb talking to you live from the National Hurricane Center in Miami, Florida, here on Tuesday, October the 4th at 9 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time in the morning. And it has been a very busy few days watching Matthew approach the northern Caribbean, where the impacts are now occurring. It is certainly going to be a devastating impact for Haiti, with the Category 4 hurricane having made landfall earlier this morning. It's about to emerge back over water, but of course hurricanes are not just a point on the map. A large area of heavy rainfall likely to be causing flash floods and mudslides, and the extensive area of very strong winds, and then the storm surges and the waves impacting the coastal regions. Dominican Republic, eastern Jamaica being impacted. Going to go downhill over eastern Cuba as the day goes on, and then the center of circulation will probably interact with a very small part of land in eastern Cuba, and then it'll be mostly over water as it moves over portions of the Bahamas over the next few days. So what does that mean for the United States? We are contemplating having to issue tropical storm and or hurricane watches for some portion of southeastern Florida at 11 a.m. this morning. So watch at hurricanes.gov to what we communicate in our 11 a.m. advisory. But let's take a look at what the current forecast is that based on the 5 a.m. advisory and updated with an intermediate public advisory at 8 a.m. Here is the latest forecast track. We're pretty confident on this turn to the left as a high pressure ridge noses in north of Matthew, prevents it from continuing to go to the north, and will turn toward the northwest. We do not know yet whether or not the center of Matthew will actually come ashore in Florida. That's possible. It could also go farther to the right and stay farther offshore. The farther offshore it is, the lesser the impacts will be, but the impacts are going to happen no matter what. But when you have the possibility of a major hurricane potentially making landfall or coming very close to the Florida coast, that means you need to take this very seriously. Today and tomorrow are going to be the days of preparation, especially in southern Florida. On Thursday, time is going to start to run out as you go north. So that's why those watches might come out at 11 a.m. this morning. That's your 48-hour heads up of the anticipated arrival of winds of tropical storm force. And again, It's not just a wind event. Heavy rainfall, inland flooding will be more of a hazard the closer to the coast this gets, and then storm surge flooding. That will be a greater hazard the closer this comes to the coast. And we're not just talking about Florida. Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, all could experience tropical storm or hurricane conditions later in the week. And we don't know if the hurricane is going to come ashore there or not. It could be farther off to the right. Maybe it never makes landfall in the U.S., but it also could come ashore in Florida and spend a lot of time inland. So a lot of uncertainties, but you do have a couple days or more to prepare from Florida up through North Carolina. Beyond that time, uncertain as to what the impacts might be farther up in the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast. So this is going to be a very important time frame for you to stay tuned to what your local officials are telling you to do, what our forecasts and watches and warnings are. But here's the key, what you can be doing today. Find out today if you live in a hurricane evacuation zone. If you do, find out today where you go and how you would get there if you're told later in the week to evacuate. Stock up on supplies before everybody else is at the last minute, and do what you can to strengthen your home at the last minute. You don't want to be figuring out how to do the shutters or other window protections then. Be thinking about how to do that now. That's what I'm doing. We're getting ready here at the Hurricane Center. Keep updated at hurricanes.gov.
AccuWeather.com meteorologist Herman City do a pro video for I'll kind of look at the technical things of Mathew here this morning. Once it gets up here, it's going to go through the Straits, head up through the Bahamas, and it'll devastate the Bahama Islands, and then from there we'll have to watch the southeast coast. Again, the models are diverging on it, but seems like the Europeans coming more in line with the GFS model from what I can tell. You know, it's interesting. Elliot was showing me today that Hurricane Hazel took it's almost identical, at least through the Caribbean, and heading north up through Haiti, up through here, and then Hazel did this, but then Hazel, once it got to the Carolinas, ended up going up diverged up in that area, okay? Hoping the trough is strong enough to not to have that happen, because that was a devastating hurricane. For the Northeast, there are a lot of heavy rains and high winds that occurred. This is the let's see here. This is the GFS wind. The highest winds stay off the coast of Florida, but then hit Charleston and Myrtle Beach, then go right up through the Outer Banks and stay off the coast with generally tropical storm force winds inland. Okay. And then it heads off the coast and heads up in toward Atlantic Canada, where they get slammed. I still think Atlantic Canada, parts of Atlantic Canada are going to get slammed by this hurricane. All right, so that's that. Okay, so that would say the wind problems would be the South Carolina, North Carolina beaches. All right, the rainfall. Okay, this is where the problem comes in. The rainfall comes up, and look at the heavy rain. Again, this can shift all over the place depending on the track. But what happens here is that the cold front is coming in, all right, into Mathew as Mathew's coming up, and so you're getting overrunning rains and heavy rains developing from Virginia up into New England. So you can get some pretty good rain amounts, 2 to 10 inches of rain behind it from Virginia on up, with obviously the heavy rain down here across the Carolinas down in this area. You can get some pretty tremendous rains as well with Mathew, but then you get an overrunning rain developing further to the north, and you can get easily 8 inches of rain with that in a very short period of time, so we could have some flash flooding problems. The path, this is the GFS model, all right, comes up, all right, brings it up toward Charleston, right along the coast, and then takes it inside of the Carolinas, and brings it up. You can see that band of heavy rain developing, okay, and then takes it out to sea. Now again, the Hazel path went up into the mountains, all right. So we have issues across the Northeast we got to iron out in the rainfall, wind, storm surges, all that kind of stuff. It looks right now like the Eastern Carolinas are going to get battered by the storm, and obviously next couple of days that path could change all over the place. It's been doing that almost every single day, as the models see the storm differently each time it does its run. So stay tuned. We're not done with this yet. Could be a wild weekend.
Okay, so looking at the tropical storm force wind speed probabilities, as of now for the 5-day outlook, The tropical storm force winds extend 185 miles outward from the center of Hurricane Matthew. Hurricane force winds extend about 60 miles from the center of Matthew. So it's a tightly wound storm in the center, but the tropical storm force winds extend 185 miles out from the center. So again, a direct passage of the eye over your area does not mean you're not going to get strong winds. Tropical storm force winds are still strong winds, just under 78 miles per hour. Hurricane force winds through the 5-day. Again, we can't focus so much on the track just yet because at this point, since it's over 5 days out from getting anywhere near North Carolina to New Jersey to New York and up into Canada, the track is too uncertain. And it's a little too early just to see how much it's going to interact with the Northeast. Take a look at the bottom. You can see as the category moves up, you can take a look at the damage. Now, category 2, where it's at now, extremely dangerous winds will cause extensive damage. As it gets into the category 3, well-built framed homes may incur major damage. Roof and decking and things like that can be removed. Trees will be snapped. Getting into category 4, where it is now, is catastrophic damage. Well-built frame homes can sustain severe damage, loss of most of the roof and structure and exterior walls. Most trees will be snapped or uprooted and power poles down. Fallen trees and power poles will isolate, residential areas. Category 5, we're talking about a pure wipeout. The other thing, we have Tropical Storm Nicole out there, and probably nobody's reported on this. It's not expected to come inland, but it will interact with Matthew out here. So there's going to be a high pressure push right here. Nicole may have a factor in what happens to that high pressure in between the two. Stay tuned to Flash News Network.